Hello, good morning, and welcome to Monday. It is Monday, maybe June something, in some year that has not ended ever and may never end. This is CosmoQuest, and I am your host, Gillian Rhodes. This is Community Coffee. You can join us every morning to talk about science, and especially on Monday mornings with me, Gillian, your host. We talk about art and astronomy and all of the wonderful and myriad ways that they come together and they create just really beautiful things. Now, I have seen that already the way it goes and Tropical Tom have been giving bits, which means that I owe you a happy dance. So here's your happy dance for the Monday morning. I am so excited for today's session. Again, I want to say that I apologize for the lateness of today's episode. We are produced in Canada, hosted in Pakistan, and our guests today are from Croatia. And so the amount of geography that we have spread out and the way the internets work, it gets a little tricky. But I'm super excited for today's episode. I will be talking not directly to, but this incredible, internationally acclaimed sculptor named Milivoj Šegan. He is a Croatian artist that I found his work on the SETI Institute art group that you heard me talking to Beth Johnson about a couple weeks ago. Which he calls this Lumina mobile technique. It's digital light art, and I thought it was absolutely fascinating. So I reached out to him and asked him to be on the show. Now, unfortunately, Milivoj doesn't speak English very well, so he deputized his nephew and a good friend of his, Gillian Rhodes and Goran, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. Okay. To speak on his behalf, and so I'm just going to bring them in and say hello. So thank you guys so much for joining me and speaking for Milivoj.
Well, hello there.
Yes, hi there. This is Dejan and Goran also as well.
Hello everyone. My name is Goran. I'm not going to try to pronounce my surname.
You know, I unfortunately, I do speak a few different languages, but Croatian is not one of them. And I'm a bit intimidated by the accent on the C.
You're not the first person to have problems with pronouncing my last name, so it's fine. Okay. I got used to it, even in Croatia, so.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad. So we're just gonna, get started and jump into this right away. So, I think you guys have sorted out between yourselves who's, talking about what maybe. But the first thing is if you could just kind of give us an introduction to Milivoj and his work.
Well, that should fall on me. Oh, well, happy me. So, he was born in a little small village called Turčević Polje, which lies in the region of Bilogora in Croatia, so it's a bit on the hilly side. In 1957, where they lived up until he was 7 years, when they moved to nearby village, which is now a town, for the past, I don't know, 15 years or so, something about that, which is called Grubišno Polje. And his dad still lives there, so he's about 90 or something, if I'm not mistaken. So to skip through this chit chat, in 1977 he graduated from high school. So he went to nearby town where Goran lives, in Daruvar. He attended the classical gymnasium, which would be some kind of a grammar school for English speakers or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And in the same year, he also got accepted into the Faculty of Fine Arts in Zagreb, which is Croatia's capital, into the Department of Sculpture, which one was founded by Ivan Meštrović, well-renowned sculptor, who also sculpted the Indians in the Niagara region or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So after his attending his BA, he immediately enrolls into his master's, which he successfully graduates from in 1982, alongside under the guidance of Professor Ivan Sabolic. So since his student years, he worked as a conservator on various projects of the Ministry of Culture of Croatia. Approximately at the same time, he also started participating in public sculpture competitions. And since then, he actually got into like 50 or more public exhibitions in Croatia and abroad, like, for example, Slovenia, France, China. If I'm not mistaken, he couldn't pass to China back few years back.
I think that's what he was saying, that because of the lockdown, he wasn't able to go to China.
Well, he wasn't able to go to work there, but he exhibited there on the Biennale, I believe 10 years ago or something like that. Approximately the same year, in 2010, when we were in France doing an exhibition. He also accomplished more than 5 public memorials and received multiple ransom awards for them. One of the biggest achievements was in 1994, when he got a UNESCO award for restoration of Croatian National Theatre in Osijek, which is a town in the almost far east of Croatia, neighboring with Serbia, which was, of course, damaged through that years due to civil war. So yeah, well done for war zones. He was also involved professionally as a collaborator with major scientific institutions in Croatia, Slovenia, Italy, and just the state one, for example, in Italy, State Institute of Venice, where he further developed his restoration and conservational skills. After that, he opened his own private company, which was called Oblikovanje, which would roughly translate as shaping or molding, somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Where he worked for lots and lots of years on the side of his artistic vein. For example, in 2009, he attended a photo exhibition in Poreč, which is on the other side of Croatia, on the western side, on the coast of Adriatic. And the theme of this exhibition was called Photo Distortion, where he got the term via one of his critics, which called it luminal mobile. So, voila, that's where he got it from. Unfortunately, in 2015, his company was failing badly, and he was forced to go into bankruptcy. So since then, he's a full-time sculpture artist. Wherever it is, he is some kind of, if you ask me, hominis universalensis, if my pronunciation is correct. So,
okay.
This should summon it about it.
Great. Yeah, no, it's he, I think when I was, looking up his work, he's really exhibited all around the world. But just to kind of skip into the, for CosmoQuest, we're looking at more of the, astronomy and science. So as I understand it, he's been incorporating kind of astronomical ideas or scientific ideas in his art for quite a long time. So can you talk a little bit about that process?
Well, before we got into that, he asked me to fill in a little bit of background, since he was growing up in the 60s and 70s, when the Apollo missions were happening.
Right.
He also found out that one of the key men, one of the main executive chiefs at NASA's project, Apollo NASA's project, was Milojko, so-called Mike Vucelic, which was born in Garešnica, also a town in Croatia, very nearby Grubišno Polje. So that also got him, well, if a person from this kind of area can go that far, wow, what can we achieve? So that was just another further step on into the astronomy and science and everything, since he was growing up as a little child on a hilly top, and there was basically almost no light in the night. During the night back there, the sky was vast and only limited as someone's imagination. So
right.
growing up with that, he also developed a great sense for drawing and playing with mud, like almost all kids around his age were doing that.
Yeah.
So there was two main drawing he wanted to emphasize on. The one is called Biela Šuma, which would roughly translate as white forest, and Slijetanje na mjesec, which would be moon landing. So you see the sequels. So these two drawings got put into a book of poems in his elementary school. Plus, he got also a Republic Award for them. So this was just vaguely his thoughts about the correlation between mankind, the whole Earth as a planet, and space, where this small, big, whatever you take it, planet relies. So this was just some kind of the beginning. While the big boom, as he would like to call it, was during his study days. So there was a course or a subject he attended, which was named the Theory of Space, which was led by Professor Disha Radic. Excuse me. And then a big question popped into his head, also led by a series of scientific books. What the hell do we even know about art? So, passing through all that, he also found out an author, which would be another big influence for him, which was Carl Sagan, or Segan. I don't know, didn't check, my bad, the pronunciation. And his book Cosmos, which was full of, by his state, full of great artists and collaborators. And the first thing he got stuck upon was Carl's last name, which is similar or the same as his. Right. Plus, there was another coincidence that Carl was born on the same day, same month, same year as his dad. So virtually, wow, nice. What does this guy has to offer?
Right.
And this got him in, and the whole lot of other questions popped out. So what is a field and its barriers in quantum physics, for example? Or what are its elements? Or what is its manifesto? Or what is time and space? So these few questions and these pointlings, or how would you say it properly, I'm a little bit stuck on English, by Carl, got him hooked onto this idea. So he started studying it. He started reading about it while still trying to think as an artist, which he is. He sees himself. He still is. So, and how can we achieve what Carl is talking about and all other scientists are talking about in nano quantum physics and stuff like that? And how can I make this into an art without using anything expensive or fancy, just like common tools, whatever I can get my hands on? So after all his time studying this, would be a long time, And since I know him, he really got into this stuff approximately about 10 to 12 years ago, really, really hard.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and after all this time, even now, he sees himself as at a disadvantage. Still, as vast as his knowledge about this stuff is, he still sees himself as a beginner, as someone who doesn't know much about it and still wants to know more. So that's why probably his art, in his art, he's trying to resemble the principle of, for example, protein exchange. While protein is changing its shape and texture, combined with aesthetics and ethical component. Plus, in his own view, man as a singular is the one and only measure to all things, especially what life is. So one of his ideas. So he also says that there are not a lot of art produced via creation, just those who exercise their need of creation. And again, what is art in his own brain? The question that keeps turning and spinning all around and around, and again and again and again. What is art? What do we even know about it? So this thinking is fully shown in his pictures, in his concept, so-called luminal mobile, which is basically 80% light and 20% everything else. So this is his concept, which he's trying to challenge all individuals and their cognitive capabilities. So talent function plus art that must not have a function. That's every time we speak about this, he says art must not have a function. That's it. That's it. There's no it.
Yeah.
So we're going on to another major person that influenced him, which was Ruđer Bošković, whose work says something about how nothing isn't exactly nothing between points A and B. So in between there's nothing, there's something in between. So in his own opinion, he is the creator of quantum physics before everyone else, the definitor of modern science, which is interweb of natural sciences, of physics, metaphysics, classic or quantum mechanics, paradigm of universe. So everything, mixture in between that. So long story short, his interest in space and astrology and astronomy, pardon me, was born practically was put into his cradle somehow.
Right. Yeah.
That's why he doesn't see his art as his, but as a co-author of everything. So he is a co-author of everything because he was just basically following the ideas, following the patents, following what everyone else wrote and tried to incorporate it into his art.
Wow.
Plus, when he works with clay, for example, that's why he says, I'm just a co-author. Clay didn't come to me. It wasn't made by me. It was made by nature. I'm just shaping it. And while I'm burning it, again, it's burning with wood in an open fire. And also nature shapes it. So whatever it got, it cracks, it smoked it. That's just the patina that nature gets on it. So that's why he sees himself as a co-author for everything.
Yeah.
So long story short, at the beginning in childhood, which was surrounded by nature, continuing through his educational period, a vast acceleration during the studies and his work as a restorator and a conservator. And I believe in the last decade, it was an explosion of this. So maybe we yet to see its peak, or maybe not. We shall see. So here's my thought.
Yeah.
It's just like a bamboo seed. You need to plant it and you need to water it and nourish it for 5 long years. So that one bamboo tree can grow in like 60 days into a full maximum growth. So if Milivoj is a bamboo seed, if there's a bamboo seed, that's Milivoj. It's the same.
Wow.
In my own humble opinion.
Yeah, you can really see that. And so you kind of started to touch on it in this last question, but I want to kind of dig into a little bit into this the luminal mobile, because it's just such an interesting, like the pictures that come out of it are very interesting. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how that happens, like, how does that work? What is the process kind of for making these digital light pictures?
Well, that's kind of put into a few phases. So here he would like to start with the Kiriko quote. Classic art is an abstract, yet an abstract is a form of art which is way too realistic, which equals somehow classic or quantum mechanics. So at the beginning, he basically shapes the clay or plaster, whichever material he works with, shapes into a geometrical form. I don't know, a ball or a whole ball or whatever shape he gets it. He perforates it or across it. Different perforations could be same size or different size, on various locations. Definitely burns it in open fire, like the ancestors which lived there on that side did when they were burning pottery, or they were burning their gods or goddesses or whatever they was trying to burn. When they were burning it, it was open fire at the beginning. So that's why he likes to touch the beginning, from all the beginning, like in prehistory. So when that phase is done, he likes to color those small holes with enamel colors. Could be the same, could be different. He likes to play with that. So just like a cherry on top of a cake, something like that.
Right.
And when that's done, he put it onto a rotary light. So it is lightened from within. So the rotary lights rotate inside and push the lights through those holes. So then he puts in different locations, or in a room, for example, or outside, wherever he's feeling comfortable with. Oh yeah, and I forgot. Maybe sometimes he likes to step a bit further, so he also paints. Not paint, but colors the light on the rotor. So the light which rotates could be colored or not. So that's somehow his palette when he's mixing the colors to achieve certain colors. So he usually puts it in front of a mirror or paravan, and whatever he tries to do, it's all aimed for. Like, for example, he likes to speak. It's all aimed for, just like space. Nothing is casual in space. Everything is aimed for. So the next step is what happens is practically unseen to a naked eye. So that's why he needs a camera. So camera is his chisel and hammer, so his tools. So then he starts playing with camera settings. So the longer exposure, bigger aperture, or smaller aperture, shorter exposure, longer timing, whatever he's trying to do with the triggering sensor inside the camera to get that rotating light. And he loves to put a bit longer exposure, and while the camera lights are turning, then he starts modeling. And his modeling with the camera is, when the sequence starts, the camera sequence starts, he starts twisting and turning the camera as well. So we got double twists and turns. That's where he gets all these crazy shapes and stuff which resembles all those nanophysics or quantum physics, everything there, space. That his work resembles there because there's always something in motion.
There's like many things in motion, it sounds like. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then when the photo is taken, he takes it through the Photoshop, not to correct anything. He just puts it through Photoshop just to increase the quality. Never makes a major change. Sometimes he changes a bit, he crops them, he cuts bits and pieces out just to get what he really wanted to. So sometimes he changes something, but sometimes he do not touch anything unless the increasing of quality. So as I said, in his art, almost nothing is left to chance. Everything is aimed for, just like I mentioned before, the burning clay in the open fire, the patina he got, the cracks, the smoke screen, all natural occurrences. And he doesn't have the influence on them, but those are the main aim and are very, very welcome in his art. So now we can come to somehow.
Yeah, I think that the process is really, is kind of clear now, and it just makes really incredible pictures. But I think one of the cool things that I saw in his journey, if you want to add something, go ahead after this. But I saw in his journey that one of these little crazy photos that he's made turned up in a photo for NASA. And that's amazing. So how did that happen?
Well, basically, with doing all that, he is working with the camera sensor, where he leaves all the work to be done by photons, which are subatomic particles, and they define the color of the light passing through the colored terracotta holes. So that's when he's trying to do via the diffraction of light and the distortion of the light itself, and the whole frequency waste and the annihilation. The main part is the annihilation of geometrical shapes and the destruction of them. So the emphasis on creation of light and destruction of terracottas or whatever he's using to put that light through, which is kind of a Heisenberg's principle. And that's when he's pulling everything else and put it onto the internet, connecting all the various scientists at that time. And one who literally found him out was Professor Maria Drndic, which unfortunately cannot be with us, and she would be kind of the best person to say something more about this at this point. Well, unfortunately, she cannot be with us, so I thought it would be nice to kind of introduce her and who she is. So she is a professor of physics at R and Eugene L. Lambert at the University of Pennsylvania. She studied and got her PhD at Harvard University, was an MIT fellow, works with nanoelectronics, and her work has been recognized by a presidential award for young researchers. She's also an owner of Drndic Laboratories, which focuses on exploration of nanoscale and mesoscopic structures, with emphasis on nanoelectronics, transmission electron microscopy, science of nanoscale and atomic scale system. She is also the first to make a monoatomic graphene membranes with nanometer size holes and measure she was first to measure the passage of DNA molecules through those holes, which was presented at The Economist in 2011. So this one is a NASA photo.
Right, and this is the project that they were collaborating on, basically. Yeah, that ended up
one amongst the others. So that photo was basically a collage made by, I believe, her student. Milivoj never said anything. I just Googled it and I saw this young fellow, which is a student, and now I believe I should pronounce someone's name wrong. Yongxin Shou, I believe it's China, I don't know. Which represent a solid-state nanopore sensor on a different planet in search of life. Okay. So this is also one of the NASA's project, which is meant to be used on extreme conditions, either on Antarctica, on Earth, Antarctica, or ocean depths, or space exploration, like probes. NASA is trying to send probes to Saturn, right, ring moons, or Jupiter moon, Europe, in search of life. And here, just for a curiosity, Milivoj asked me to mention one of his terracotta works, which is called Europe in the Hand of Sob, which is again terracotta, made 10 years ago and was exhibited in Saint-Quentin de la Poterie in France, so southern France. And just as I said, they had a vast collaboration. His other works were put into scientific bulletins, for example, ACS Nano in the US, a few times in the inside the text, so inside the
in the magazine,
inside the article, inside the articles. While this here was, I believe, his first picture, which was on the cover. So
yep, we have that photo up right now, I believe, which is
okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So their collaboration is, as I said, it's vast. It's like been over 10 or 15 times, because she inspired him to put her experiments or anybody else's through his art, while his art inspired her to make another step forward in science. For like, first, as he says, she always claims that first, when they're trying to achieve something, first that comes out, it's a picture, and then they're trying to explain what exactly happened there.
Interesting.
So basically, Lumino Mobile blew out their minds, especially when they found out what somehow simple tools he uses to achieve something this complex.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. So the process, and I think we could just go on for hours about all of the little details that he's included, and I've seen the art that he posts, the way he talks about it. It's just such a brain on kind of high, whatever the word is. I have problems too. Obviously, I'm sure he's going to continue the Lumino Mobile and all of this stuff, but I'm sure he also has a million other projects. So can you tell us, what's next? What's he working on? And if people want to learn more about his work, where can they go and what can they look up?
Well, this question, I believe it's in a really, really good hands, in hands of our family friend, Goran Kepcia. I believe this last name
you
was
pronounced it well.
Yoo-hoo, winner. So, just a short introduction. He's a family friend. His parents got wed wherever time they were wed, and Milivoj was one of their best men.
He was my father's best man at their wedding. They went to high school together. They were friends ever since. My father and Milivoj were roommates during the university. And he's known my brother Marco and me since we were born. And he insists that I mention here that my father is also a small guitar manufacturer. So it was on Milivoj's insistence. So I will
Goran, the word is
I
yours.
will answer this question about this topic from Milivoj's perspective. Like from he wrote, I talked to him. It will be from his. It's like he's talking from first person.
Great.
So there it goes. This is this last question is not an easy one to answer. What next? I have spent most of my career working in historical preservation and restoration, and that formed me the most. Cooperation with many experts in history, art, and preservation, and working with some significant historical artworks and heritage improved my knowledge and reformed my perception of art as such. From then on, I have decided to focus on creating art of my own. My focus and most of my work is based on creating terracotta sculptures and developing my idea of lumino-mobile photographs, which are mostly based on motifs from astronomy, physics, and many more. I'm not an expert in technology and computers, so my photography is based on pure manual capture of movement by creating various light forms, whether I'm using spherical or cubical heads. My main motifs are light resonance, diffraction, cracks, and illusions. I would like to artistically explore and represent the idea of infinity and singularity in some of my future works. I am glad I have fulfilled my curiosity about many scientific topics thanks to many people I have communicated and collaborated with. While I am still under current impressions, I will continue to create similar forms of art as I did before. I am very interested in this topic and concept of time. What I find very interesting about astronomy is that it is basically a technologically advanced glance at the past. Interesting idea of visualization to me is representing past, present, and the future at the same time, as well as concepts of reversibility and irreversibility. I also like to work with wood and create various portraits and animal sculptures, mostly horses, with different spherical wooden segments, while using concepts of forms and counterforms. I was chosen to represent Croatia and expose some of my works in FLICAM, FULE International Ceramics Arts Museum in Xi'an, Shanxi province in China. That was supposed to happen in April this year, and my creations would stay there as permanent expositions, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, none of this happened. So I will continue to expand everything I learned at the Arts Academy about the theory of space and modifying geometry, while using so-called TABITI, point with two focuses. My explorations of spatial forms are somewhat based on the works of Nikolai Lobachevsky, Carl Friedrich Gauss, Bernard Riemann, Richard Feynman, Cantor's paradox, and holometrical game of dimensional changes from 2 dimensions to 3 and vice versa. I would like to use a quote by Richard Feynman, who said, "If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics." As an explanation of my work, while I'm not any kind of expert in this field, I find it very inspirational as a creative motive in my artworks. While I'm not fully focused on sculpting and photography, I also like to draw, mostly caricatures. I love humor and sarcasm. I like to explore new techniques, and I do not hold onto strict styles while I'm creating something for which I find inspiration from the perfect author, which is Mother Nature. I know that my works are not understandable to many people, but as they say, if one person understands you, the whole world will. So something like that happened when Maria found me and my works on Facebook. I would also like to mention Dr. David Engstrom from Denmark, co-author from the book The Complementary Nature, who understood my works and found them very interesting. He sent me a signed copy of his book and wrote that my art will not be recognized and understood for 100 years from now at least. I do not pretend to be very serious in my creations. I would like to quote Edwin Hubble: every man born with 5 senses is a scientist. I would also like to add this: every man born with 5 senses is a creator, but only a few can be considered as artists. I do not consider myself as an artist. I'm an academic sculptor and historical conservator and restorer. Nothing more, nothing less. Maybe someday someone will consider my work as an art. Giorgio de Chirico once told, "Classical art is an abstraction and every abstraction is a reality." That is also my view on art. Therefore, it will be in my future creations as well. I will continue to work as the same as before, working on multiple creations at the same time. I also read books like that, few at the same time, constantly jumping from one to another. Something like the theory of multiple parallel universes. 11 years ago, I started working on a charcoal drawing called My World Pictured in a Braid of Black Hawthorn. It is 10 meters wide and 3 meters tall, created by merging smaller pieces to one bigger picture. Main motive is the nature complementarity in Pegasus constellation, where they say that the new stars are born. Drawing was created by using carbon, the skeleton of universe, an element all known life is made from, so am I. This work represents my understanding and perception of universe drawn on two-dimensional surface. There is some space still left blank for some time in the future. Themes I plan to represent in my future works are the ideas of time, past, present, and future, uniqueness of nature, space and time continuum, artificial intelligence, Fermi's paradox, Maxwell's demon, and many more. I would like to thank all of you at CosmoQuest. I find this project amazing and I will continue to follow it in the future. I hope this is the start of many new friendships. I would also like to thank the following: Gillian Rhodes, Dr. Marija Drndic, Jasna Dragon, editorial staff at CosmoQuest and ACS Nano, CETI Institute, NASA, and everyone else. Thanks to Gillian, Dejan, Tim, and Goran for this session. All of you are inspiration for my creations, and everyone I have met since my trip started, from the place of my birth, Turčević Polje, and 1.5 million kilometers across Croatia and other parts of the world I have visited since then. Best regards, Milivoj Šegan.
Oh, thank you so much for that, and thank you to Goran and Dejan for joining us, for speaking about Milivoj's art and his ideas and his philosophy. We've just loved to have you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. So to you guys who are watching on Twitch, we're just going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much for being with us, for following us, for your subscribes and your bits. Thank you for your patience as we got started late this morning. Just a reminder that in just an hour and a half, the daily space will be on at this very address. And you can, which is your daily space news roundup. I don't think there are any other streams today, but I could be wrong about that. So join us again in an hour and a half for the daily space, and have a wonderful Monday. Oh, there's the open space. Okay, open space is tonight, which is question and answer with Fraser Kane, I believe. Sorry if I said that wrong. And Tropical Tom, thank you for the bits. So I will just sign off today with a happy dance. So have a happy Monday, and we'll see you next week.